Welcome to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show with me, Jess Tomlinson. Interviews to inspire a new movement of leaders and entrepreneurs. The ones who lead with vulnerability and authenticity, stand in visibility, allowing themselves to truly be seen, are fierce and playful and sexy. Choose business as a spiritual practice. Seek collaboration versus competition. No, giving back is not an option. It's a necessity. They do it their way. They radiate. They rise. Now, let's rise together.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jess Tomlinson here with a new episode of the Radiantpreneur Rising Show. And as you can tell, this is a different format because we're in person. Because connection matters. Yes, it does. And we're going to talk a lot about that today because I have my beautiful soul sister, dear friend, and also has been a mentor to me in the line of relationships, which you will learn more from her about, Chani Jacobson. Hello. Hello, universe. We were just talking about how it's like might be a little awkward because we like want to look at you guys, but we want to look at each other. So just bear with us if we're a little awkward. You know, this show is all about leaning into the edges of vulnerability and visibility, and so apparently this is our weird edge. Always growing and learning. So I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on the show and just to share your wisdom.
Thank you. And I appreciate the amazing space that you hold and create with people. It's really phenomenal. I've watched a lot of your Radiantpreneur shows, and I love how bright and shiny and impactful you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me.
Yes. Oh, I love, thank you for that reflection, because on the way here while I was driving, I was like, I don't even need to be prepared for this. This is just one of those things that, like, you know, I'm like, it's just going to happen. It's going to be beautiful and amazing. And I know you are amazing too. So
Thank you.
that is, you know, half of the interview is definitely impacted by you. So I'd love to start by asking you, it's like the one question I ask everybody is, how are you as a woman, a business owner, leaning into your visibility edges right now?
That is such a great question. It's really about speaking about what I do to multiple people at once, like at an event. That is a vulnerability and visibility edge for me. Public speaking is not my biggest, most favorite thing. And I know how important it is to offer what I do to more people and to share what I do with people in a group setting. And so I find that is leaning into the edge, and it doesn't always go perfectly. But I feel like it's important for me to do that work.
Yeah.
How else am I doing? I feel like there is some other way that I think also being more honest about the challenges I have faced and the breakthroughs I have faced, and sort of like my secrets, things that I'm doing in my life and in my relationship and that have helped my clients. I'm actually allowing myself to talk about them in a much more powerful and potent way, as opposed to just sugarcoating it or making it seem like it's, you know, here's the tips. You know, I'm really going into like the real energy and actually claiming what a difference, you know, it can make in your relationship when you're vulnerable, when you allow it to be sacred, when you practice the tools that really grow your relationship and get you deeper and deeper in love and in connection.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that, because it's like you're modeling as a leader, doing events and working with your clients, the very thing that they need to be able to actually like create more intimacy and connection with their partners, you know? So it's like, I really feel like, and I'm curious your opinion on this, like in the entrepreneurial space is going to lean more and more and more towards embodying,
oh my gosh,
what it looks like to get the result that you're providing people versus just telling them. Like, I love that you said like the 1, 2, 3 tips. Like, that's like, I can very easily go there, but it feels like it's just missing that like soul and that potency, like you said.
That is so true. And I love how you said that. Yes, it's very much, yeah. I mean, the 1, 2, 3 is important because everybody learns differently. And so, yes, it's important to like call out the steps that are the keys or the tips or the things that you have distilled into like, here's a package of what you can take.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. Like, I do have to embody that, and I can embody it all day in my one-on-one sessions and in my relationship. But yeah, the edges are, for me, is embodying that to a group of people and speaking more potently about what it is, like the things that I would want to keep close to the chest that I feel are more private or more secret, just embodying that and showing that and speaking it too. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm curious, like, as you've moved into more of that powerful sharing in groups, because I know you've done a lot of events.
Yes.
Chani moved away from Santa Cruz. We both live in Santa Cruz, but she moved away for a few years in DC, Washington, DC. And now that you're back and doing all these events, which is so amazing to watch. And like, I've been to a few of them, and she's just a beautiful leader. I'm curious what you have witnessed. Like, has there been a difference in the experience for the participants, or like, have you got feedback on that since you kind of like shifted?
That's a really good question. I haven't assessed for feedback from the participants.
Maybe just how have you felt?
I have felt different about it. I think there hasn't, as far as I can tell from what the feedback that I have gotten, it's just as profound, but it is my relationship to the work and how I'm showing up that has changed. And so it makes it so much more sustainable for me, and it makes it more enjoyable for me. Because I feel more comfortable and more open, I can actually share easier or more easily. And so, so it's actually more healing for me to embody that and show up in that way, instead of it just being healing for the participant.
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, you might have seen me take, like, I was taking a full body breath because I feel like you just explained something that I try to talk about all the time. Like, you did it way more eloquently than I think I've been able to find the words towards, which is like you can be making an impact in your clients' lives.
Yeah.
But if you are not feeling like so good about it, I understand we all have different days, and like, I'm not talking about like the day-to-day flow, because this is, you know, the life of being a human.
Yes.
And the life of an entrepreneur is like, but if you're not feeling like that level of like fulfillment and like peace within yourself and just like that full embodiment, you know, everything that we deserve to feel, when we're doing our work, like, to me, it's not worth it. Like, and some people would say that that's not okay to say. They would say like, well, as long as you're helping people or you're making an impact, like, do whatever it takes to make an impact. Like, at the end of the day, like, how we feel really matters. And it's like that sustainability, like you said, to like, because now that you have made it sustainable or more sustainable, right? We're all on the path. More sustainable. I know. I'm still working there too. But more sustainable, it's like you will have even more energy. Like, I've been amazed at your energy of like doing so many events. And I wonder if that's a part of that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And also, and I'm also incorporating, because I'm more dedicated to my own sustainability, my own healing, and the tools that work the best for me and my clients, I'm also incorporating new techniques and new things that help me with my energy too.
Yeah.
And so part of it is that I'm actually even practicing more what I would teach my clients.
Yeah.
I'm practicing it more and more and more. And I'm allowing my capacity to like let in more of that energy, more of that healing, more of that potency. I'm allowing myself to get more and more of that, which energizes me more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
We went down like a whole rabbit hole, but I felt like it was really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to get into more of, just kind of what you actually do. And I want to start by sharing that I have experienced Chani's work because Ben has given me full permission. And I'm so grateful for him as an entrepreneur who loves to share vulnerably a lot. That he trusts me to share whatever I feel like I want to share. And so we have worked with Chani, and I will just say that the path that I want to go down is a little bit around why this work is so important for couples who are, for lack of a better term, power couples or couples that are in leadership positions doing big work. And so I'd love your perspective, and then I'll kind of feed into my story and why I felt like we really needed support as well.
For sure. Yeah. What I notice a lot is that it's so easy for couples, especially when one of them is an entrepreneur or has a lot of leadership and ambition and wants to get things going, or both, that there is a tendency for disconnection and getting out of sync. And I'm not exactly sure why. I just know that that's what happens. And things like the communication kind of just goes downhill, and the intimacy goes downhill. And the ability, I think that's what I want to say right now. And then I want to hear more of what you have to say, and then we can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
But I think, let's leave it there, and then we'll just continue the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. I love this. I'm gonna keep it in my hand. Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are, well, first of all, I don't think I ever really got, one of those, how people always say, you can kind of get it and you can empathize with people, but unless you've experienced it, you don't really get it. And for me, that was my experience with having Ben, who's my partner, quit his job. Well, I met him, and then I don't even know how many months later. I think it was 6 months. Yeah, 6 months later, he quit his job, and went full in, on the entrepreneur life. He'd been doing stuff on the side, but went full in, invested in a high level program, moved here to Santa Cruz in my space. And I'm a super optimistic person, and I can see the possibilities, right? And I was oh, this is going to be awesome. And I knew, because I had been a relationship coach before, that it wasn't going to be all, sunshine and roses. I was, in reality enough to know that, but I didn't realize what an impact it would have on us and our relationship. And it's it really still makes me so sad to talk about, because we're still working through things, as getting used to this. And I think what I want to say is just, I really want to bring some awareness of how normal this is, because as I was driving here, I was thinking one of the things that I really want to get across to people is that whether you're single or whether you are in a relationship, I think that there's a lot of shame either way as an entrepreneur, struggling with, maybe not being able to find a partner because you're so damn busy, and being in partnership and struggling because you're so damn busy, or whatever it is.
Whatever the struggles are.
Yeah, for me, it's not because I'm busy. I don't have a busyness bug anymore. Thank goodness. But for me, what I experienced was just this there's a lot of pressure, especially when you're a new entrepreneur, to make it work. So Ben's under a lot of pressure to make it work. Yes. And then I feel for me, my freedom was kind of I have this other person now that I'm worrying about, because he's under so much pressure. And of course I have my own pressures too, running a business, and sometimes, worrying about clients and all that stuff. So I just want to I'm curious your thoughts on normalizing this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's normal for any couple at all. But yes, the pressures specifically of being an entrepreneur, or both of the people in that couple being an entrepreneur, it's enormous. It's enormous. I think there can sometimes be not only a pressure just to do well in your business, and something that can cause resentment or disconnection or blame or whatever between the partners, but also there is this desire to showcase that your life is perfect, or else how can you be somebody who's going to hire you? So, I love that you said normalize, because and I think that this is a trend right now in general of normalizing the fact that nothing's perfect. Yeah. No one is perfect. And, we can showcase all over social media. We can showcase in our workshops that we lead, and in one-to-one sessions and everywhere. We can showcase that everything's perfect and I've done everything, and so you can hire me. And that's just not true at all. And so I really appreciate how vulnerable and honest and authentic you're being right now. Just being transparent about the fact that it's not perfect with you and Ben. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you're any less of an amazing coach. It just means that there are pressures, there are issues, just like with pretty much every relationship on earth, unless somehow you've been through 20 years of therapy and it's all good. But even still, like, your couples go through a process no matter what. There's a struggle of some sort. A trauma is revealed. Something has gone on. A fight ensues. Resentment is revealed. Whatever those things are. Or things like with what happened with you and Ben, where there was a lot of stressful points. Yeah. Recently, somebody that I know was saying that even just moving alone is akin, stress-wise and emotionally, to the loss of a loved one. Mm-hmm. So, like, when someone is under that much stress, like, and this happens for everybody, it's bound to cause resentment. It's bound to want you to, leave you pushing down emotions and feeling like you don't want to acknowledge them. And then double that with being an entrepreneur and wanting to showcase only your best self for potential clients, that's just too much to push down inside of yourself all the time. Yeah. And I noticed a trend that, because I work primarily with men and women couples, and men in our society, even as open and into personal growth and development as they are, and even as experienced as they may be in personal development, men do just have a harder time, for the most part, identifying emotions that are hidden inside of themselves. That could have been there for years, or emotions that have popped up recently that they've pushed down because they didn't know how to deal with it. Yeah. So identifying emotions and being able to communicate that with their partner is so key. But it takes being willing to say, I'm not perfect, and I don't have all the answers, and I need help. And so,
I appreciate that. And I want to go into, like, how you focus on emotions, because I feel like that was so beneficial for us, and I know it's a huge part of your work. But before I do that, I lost my train of thought.
Normalizing.
Yeah, there was something around, the normalizing, yes. Okay, well, thank you. This is what Chani does, you guys. Yes, the normalizing. I feel like for me, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, like, a great first step for me was just, and I'm kind of like this anyways, because this is how I heal. Like, when I was going through really bad financial troubles after my friend died, I told everyone because I wanted to feel normal. So I know that that's not easy for everybody. And so that's why I'm curious your perspective, because for me, it's been healing to talk to other couples in business and say, like, hey, do you guys go through this kind of stuff? Like, what's it like for you? Are we the only ones? Because I know that we're not, but it's like you sometimes just need to feel it and hear it. Yeah. So what is your thought as like one thing that couples could do to start to, like, normalize?
You mean in terms of just talking about it as much as possible?
Yeah, or just whatever your advice would be around like the normalization. Because I feel like sometimes just saying, like, you're normal and everybody goes through this, it's like, okay, we can say that. But, like, does that really help? Like, what would be your thoughts?
I think that's a really good question. First off, I think first, you're like an outlier, because I think it's really counterintuitive for a lot of people to talk about their flaws or what they perceive as a flaw. And so you're a really strong, evolved, and freaking awesome person for being like, you are, for just being like, hey, so this is happening, you know, and it's really hard. And it, you know, to put yourself out there is, as someone who is going through something that when they might want, when it might be like they shouldn't if they're a business coach or whatever. So I think first off, it's counterintuitive to talk about those things, especially as an entrepreneur or business owner, if that's your field. Like you don't want to talk about what's going wrong. So I like your question, and here's what I was thinking. Yes, if you have people in your life that you feel where it's an equal exchange of sharing successes, celebrations, you know, downfalls, flaws, challenges, struggles, then that's awesome. And I think, and that can be helpful so that people understand like, oh yes, everybody goes through this. And I will say, like, when I see people on social media that I follow who are being real about the struggles they're going through, then I'm like, oh yes, like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. And then that's our human bond right there. We feel connected, we feel empathy, we feel compassion, and we feel like, oh my gosh, we're not alone, I'm not isolated. So yes, it's good to talk about all of that and just share that so other people feel that way. And I think there's more. Like, first off, some people don't want to be the person that, you know, you're talking to about your problems. So even it's like, you want to check it out. Like, is this something that they want to hear? Is this something that they want to share back? You know, because not everybody is a coach, not everybody is a therapist, not everybody has those skills and tools. So on the one hand, yes, it's cool to say, to claim it, like, hey, I'm having this problem. Well, there we are, we're all human. Yes, that's really cool and great. And it's so important to get like really good support for when things are going wrong enough that no matter how often you're talking about it and sharing what you're going through, nothing's really changing. Is that making sense?
I think that the distinction I'm hearing is like, for example, I was going to people that I trusted for sure. I think that's a great point. Like, you know, if you're not part of a community, be part of one. The end. So true. Yeah, because when I think of, you know, the couples that I did go to, they're part of the community that both Chani and I are part of, and it's you know, a lot of entrepreneurs on this path, so we get it. And so that I knew was already like a safe place. And then when they helped me feel like, okay, they're going through some of this stuff too, like it made me feel like I wasn't alone, which for me was comforting. And then we still sought out your support, which, you know, Chani is, you're multiple certified for many things and being able to help with relationships, not to mention your own story. So I think that's a really, really good point. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, like, you know, your own story.
Which would
probably be healing.
Oh my gosh. I'm really happy to share. So my husband and I have dealt with a lot of issues over the course of our 11-year relationship. And it started with, I mean, truly where it started was me finally feeling safe with someone who I loved, who I knew I could fully trust and open up to. Now, I didn't realize this on a conscious level at that time, but what it looked like was I would pick fights, I would yell and scream, and I was fully in my pain body. If anybody's familiar with Eckhart Tolle, the pain body was real. It was happening. And it really affected our intimacy. It affected our communication. It affected our emotional well-being. It affected us both physically as well. It affected us on every level. Financially, I mean, every level it was affecting us. And not to mention that it was affecting people around us. You know, if we were living with other people, they would hear us fighting and it would affect them. And it was just this never-ending, what felt like a never-ending, you know, cycle of, oh, okay, like we're in a good place a little bit. And then something, I would get triggered by something, or he would get triggered by something. And then it was just like going at it, like crazy fighting. And then, you know, the feeling drained and emotionally burned out and just like, okay, like, I don't know what to do anymore. And you just be in that space of feeling completely drained. And then reassessing, like, should we stay together? Like, what is this? What are we going to do? And then coming back to a place of hope, because of the love that we did have for each other was really palpable and really, really real. And we felt really committed to each other. And then coming to a better place again. So it was this constant cycle. And, you know, that went on for years, and it's really embarrassing and vulnerable to share that for years, my husband and I were going through this prior to being married and even after our marriage. You know, it's hard to say that, you know, I acted that way and that our relationship was that way. It is embarrassing, but that's the truth. And then, I can't remember what year it was, years later, we were still really dealing with this fighting dynamic, and still our intimacy was really affected, and physically we were both still affected, you know, financially as well, just all aspects were affected still. And I remember that there was this one moment, and it was this moment where Keith and I, we were about to start fighting again, and I don't even remember what it was about. I just remember that we were about to go at it again. And suddenly I just sort of stepped out of my body in a sense. It wasn't like I dissociated. It was more like I was being given a moment in time to reassess, like, and to see outside of this dynamic and to see our relationship for what it truly is, outside of all of the pain and the damage and the emotional baggage and all of the fighting dynamic that we had been experiencing. And I got to see very clearly that all of that was an illusion. It no longer needed to happen, and that there was a way to get through all of that. And so I kind of shoot back into my body, and I told my husband, like, you know what? I don't think we need to do this anymore. And because of the way that I had shifted in that one moment, he could feel my energy, and he really believed me. And so we didn't end up fighting. And then I basically at that point pursued all of the best trainings and information on how to heal relationships. And so I really immersed myself in that for about a year. And
What's your favorite training?
My favorite training
or book or whatever?
Oh, I really like the Gottman principles.
Yeah.
The 7 principles for making marriage work.
Cool.
That's the one I recommend the most to my couples.
Yeah.
And it works even if you're not married. It doesn't not just for married people, but for committed couples.
Cool.
And especially that book was very helpful, and it taught me specific communication techniques. And through that process too, like, I changed, I transformed. I was able to see that the way that I was acting, I could fix. Not only could we fix the way we were talking to each other and communicating to one another, but through that, I could fix myself.
Yeah.
And all the damage and emotional baggage from my life. So I taught the techniques to my husband.
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't okay.
And
it wasn't easy.
Was he open? Was he
Yes,
open
he was.
to it?
Oh,
That's
yes.
really cool.
Yes, there was enough trust there, and not all the time. I mean, I don't recommend this for everybody, because I think it takes certain people and certain couples to really teach themselves how to do this. But that's actually what we did, and we did get a little bit of outside help. We did, but because I was really born for this work, it came really innately and naturally to me. It fit me like a glove. And that's how I realized that not only was this saving my marriage, but it was something that I was going to want to get trained in and teach to couples moving forward. Yeah. So, wow. Does that, I can go on, but I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think what I really see in that, and it's kind of like anything in life, if we really, from my perspective, if we really think about it, it's like you kind of just took responsibility. Yeah. Like in that moment, it was just like, it's like we can put ourselves in any dynamic and like get addicted to it, right? Like it's like anything in business, even like we can get addicted to the cycle of, you know, scarcity and never having enough money, or we can get addicted to the cycle of like, you know, working with clients that we don't like, or like, you know, there's just like so many things, or like doing work that we don't even really like, you know. In the entrepreneurial field, I feel like there's so much like stigma around like switching what you do, and like, oh, I've switched so many times, so that's why I help people with that now. Anyway, so for me, it feels like that, like, yeah, that like ownership of like, I'm responsible here. All that we can really be responsible for at the end of the day is like ourselves.
Yes.
And it creates 50% of that dynamic with the people that we're with, or the thing that we're dealing with. Right?
Absolutely.
And so I love that, because it puts the power back in our hands. Like there's really, I sound really mean saying this, but it's like, there really are no excuses of like, I'm not saying it's easy, because I'm still in it too, you know, but if we want to change, we can, and we all deserve to have this amazing, loving, like, you know, relationship that's harmonious, and we elevate each other. And so I want you to talk about the aha that you had lately around just like this elevation and like up leveling, and what I really heard you say when you were sharing with me before we went live, or we're not live, we're recording. I'm sure you're smart enough to figure that out. But before we hit the record button, around like what I heard was like the spiritual evolution of like the couple.
Yes.
Like, so tell us about that, because I know you've had really awesome, juicy insight around that.
Absolutely. So there's the one level that I was referring to in my story from before, which is like learning the communication techniques and the tools, identifying emotions, when I was talking about you and Ben, and so that's one level, and building trust and all of those things. That's like level one, which is freaking awesome. And you can have a fantastic relationship just staying in that realm. And what I have seen in my relationship, and what I feel that is my mission, is to share with couples and help them get to the place where I have gotten to, which is that there is a place you can get to where your relationship is like a sacred spiritual experience in all ways, and specifically in the bedroom. And there is a wisdom. So you were talking about inner wisdom, and there is an inner wisdom that each person has, that when you up level together, when you make that choice and you keep up leveling and elevating and elevating and elevating, you'll get to a place where you have stripped away so much of the ego, so much of the crap, so much of the damage and emotional baggage and pain from your life on earth, because everybody has that. Everybody does. You're going to get to a point where you can peel all of that back and really, really see and feel like truth. And recently, my husband and I got to that place where it was like going back in time, like genetic memory or ancestral memory was coming through to be shared about, you know, what's possible when you're fully present, fully in your wisdom, and fully stripped down and open to your partner in a way that you've never been before. It's really powerful. It's really satisfying. And when this happened recently with my husband and me, it was like I just started crying. I just was crying, sobbing, because I was so grateful. I was so grateful for, it's really hard to describe, but for just the sacredness of our union, of our commitment to one another, of our ability to understand one another, to be compassionate about one another, and to share just such deep truth that was coming forth from that sort of ancestral place, that sort of primal place, in a sense. It's hard to explain, but it was really moving, and it left me, after I was done crying in gratitude for however many minutes that was, it was this place of just so much softness and so much pleasure and so much joy and so much hope. And it really clicked for me that every couple has the capacity to reach that level. And that's what I want for everybody. I want every single person to strip away all of the crap and come together in a way that makes each other sob in gratitude for how present and how wise they are.
Whew, I must have been so good. I just my throat is like excited.
Or you have something to say.
Yeah, I don't right now.
Okay.
Actually, I was just like taking you in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's beautiful. It's just, it feels like, I mean, knowing you even from before, you guys have gone on this journey through like your work that you've been doing, you know, with yourself and each other and couples, you know, it's like between you guys, like physically moving.
Yes.
Like, right. You moved away to DC and that was a huge deal. And then you grew like in this new city where it's like, you had to really like find yourself in a way, like for lack of a better term. It's like, you're just kind of like in this new city, just each other. It's like, okay. And then you guys are now back here and it's just so beautiful. Like just to put it in tangible terms of like, we're here in her place. Like this is her beautiful place that, you know, her and her husband have together, and, you're hosting events here and you're getting out in the community, and I know your husband is like building his business and like he's just like super elevating, and it's just really amazing and sweet. And like I want to share this moment just because I think it's really potent for everybody to have a visual of you guys were here on the couch, and I remember your husband, I don't know if I can say his name.
Private for now.
Yeah. Come over and you were like, honey, we have our time tonight together. We have like sacred time. And it must have been like the full moon, or I can't remember when it was.
Yes.
Jen and I were over here.
Yeah.
And
it was.
yeah. And it was just really, really sweet. And like you were reaching over and holding each other's hands like across the couch, and you were going to have like sacred time. Sorry.
No, that's not
together. And that it's just really, it's those sweet moments that I think are what really matter, and that you both like embody so beautifully in the like sweetness and tenderness.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
It comes with truly like deeply, deeply committing to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really does. Like you have to keep saying yes.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, this is not to say that people who no longer are working together as a couple are wrong or bad or whatever, but you're always going to find what you need no matter relationship that you're in. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is that if you keep saying yes to one another and you keep peeling back those layers of yourself and revealing yourself and committing to your partner, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like you can conquer anything, and it feels like life can be unlimited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. So let's talk a bit about your work and kind of one of your techniques of really identifying emotions.
Yeah.
Because that was huge, I feel like. And no, I know. And we still need a lot of work around it. But identifying emotions as they're arising. Yeah. I really appreciated this in your work. And then like, at least for us, what you had us do was not try to like go into the story. Yes. It was just like, and that is so huge, right? And I want to bring awareness to this around, like, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs were really smart. We've got these really cool brains that are like high functioning. And so it's really easy to go into the story because you want to understand and you want to like know. Yes. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes,
and I feel like this will just be really, I'm hoping this is an aha for you all because it was for me.
Yeah. Okay. So, what I also want to preface this by is that also sometimes it's really great to get into the story because then you can understand some things that need to be understood But you don't want to go into the story until there's sacred space around identifying and sharing emotions from a vulnerable and powerful place.
Good.
Okay. So yeah. So what often happens is we say things like this. I feel like this happened. I feel like you did this. I feel like this, that. Right?
Yeah.
Not an I feel statement. I feel statements, well, that's the second thing, because first is identifying the emotions, but I'll finish my thought on this. An I feel statement is I feel, and then stating the emotion, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so each partner has to practice that. And especially the partner that's triggered or has more emotions happening and is wanting some resolution or having a hard time, that person needs to be held in sacred, present, vulnerable space for them to say, I feel betrayed, or I feel ashamed, or I feel overwhelmed, or whatever that is. And they just need to have enough time to say those things and have them be genuinely heard without the other person getting defensive, wanting to explain away the situation, wanting to say why or why not things are happening that way. So I call that, partner A is stating their emotions. And partner B, it's for them to say, I hear you. And a lot of eye contact when you're doing this. Eye contact will help you to get present with one another, and it will help you to have compassion and empathy for the other person, and it will also help to curb your desire to go into defensive mode when someone says something that you might get triggered by.
Right. Yeah.
So that's actually step 2, but the first step, as you said, is actually identifying the emotions, which is really hard for so many people. We don't, unless you're from, a family where there's a lot of therapy or like a lot of personal development or whatever, most people, they're not learning to say, well, I feel, what do I feel?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I feel excited, or like whatever. It can be a happy emotion or it can be a neutral. It doesn't matter what the emotion is. There's no judgment about the emotion. It's just identifying them.
Yeah.
And so the process that I take people with is like a body inquiry process where I help them get really grounded in their body, feeling the earth, taking deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and really calling attention to, where they feel an emotion in the body, and actually stating what the emotion is. And sometimes that's as far as we can get, is actually just practicing that. And step 2, as I was saying, is actually being able to like verbalize and communicate that to your partner in that vulnerable yet powerful way. So it's I've had 90-minute sessions with oftentimes men where that's all we're doing is we're doing like body inquiry the entire time. And I'm guiding them through and I'm asking them, well, what do you feel? And what does that place in your body have to tell you? And just, even if it's weird, whatever pops up, it's okay. Like there's literally no judgment. It's just helping the brain get in tune with the body and the emotions that are stored there and being able to identify them. And then communicate them. So it's a practice. It takes time. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, I know for us when we were practicing that, I probably went a bit overboard because I was like, I feel this, I feel that, I feel this, because as somebody, I feel like I've turned on the fire hose a lot, like since I entered the personal development world, because in my family we never talked about emotions, never talked about anything. But like I have a wide vocabulary for my emotions. And so for me, when you assigned us that, it was super fun. But it was really overwhelming, for men, I think, because again, it's not all men, but many men really struggle because of societal things and, it just, the way that many men are built and what they're taught, and it's not okay to feel. And I had a question for you around that, because I was envisioning, as you were saying, just how important it is for people to identify that emotion in their body, and sometimes it takes a while. That I can imagine that that's also like a tuning our sensory body for deeper intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's about being present with what's actually present in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then the eye gazing as well. Like those two, yes, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of the emotions and where they're stored and what's there for you in that, if you're walking around up here in your head and you have never thought about how your feet feel on the ground, you know, if you don't know how your spine is feeling, if you don't know any of these things, how you're feeling in your body, it's really hard to be present in intimacy. And I have seen that it can be really frustrating for a lot of men. They feel like they just want to give up when they're not in their bodies and their partner is telling them like that doesn't really feel good, or like that's not working, and they just feel like they want to fall apart because they actually don't know how to stay present and just continue that inquiry in themselves in the present moment with the intimacy with their partner. So yes, absolutely, it's like the foundational step for them and themselves to really get in tune with that sensory wise, so that they can bring that to the intimacy and the affection and the communication as well.
It's awesome. I just made that connection just now, and then
I'm
like more reason for us to do that work.
Yes. I also want to make a distinction about so many men, because I also think men know what emotions are, and they know when they're feeling. Like a lot of people know when they're feeling, some men don't, but even if they understand what emotions are when they're being moved, or when they feel a certain way, it's hard for them to identify the specific emotion, where it lives, and then communicate that in a way that is vulnerable and powerful and deepens connection with their partner, as opposed to severing connection. So even for people who, and this is not just for men, so even for people who feel like, well, I'm pretty emotionally literate, like there's still a very specific way to identify them in the body and have that practice with identifying it and feeling it, and then the practice of communicating in a way that brings you closer together.
And I know in your work you help people understand the different areas of the body and why like it's coming up probably in that area.
Well, and I don't say it, I just ask the question, like, what are you feeling? What does it have to say? You know, they're the ones that are having the body inquiry. I'm just asking the questions, which is awesome, because the weirdest things happen, the weirdest messages pop up, and then we get really deep, you know, and things get stored. Things get stored in the body, and it's really helpful. I'm not so much in labeling like good and bad. I'm just wanting to deepen that practice of like getting in touch with yourself. And then from there, you develop that confidence and that strength to just be with that, and then share that with your partner, which deepens the intimacy, connection.
And I mean, I'm sure that even the I feel this is a beneficial communication tool for everything, anybody that we're interacting with, you know, clients, family, especially family, just like, you know, anybody. It's just really, they're valuable tools. I think this is super important. And what I love about your work is how powerful it is, but how simple it is in the fact of like we have to come back to the simplicity in order to really build these skills that we're not taught. So I really admire that about you. Like, you know, I was not that type of relationship coach, which is why I'm not a relationship coach anymore. One of the reasons, but I really, because that's what people need, you know, and like, so I really appreciate like your gentleness and like how deep you go with these like very simple tools and concepts that are like life-changing.
They really are. And I see the value in working with couples together and working with them separately. Because, you know, like I was saying before, I worked with a man who for 90 minutes, that's what we did. And I don't work with him and his wife. I just work with him. So, but it's affecting his life. It's affecting his workplace. You know, he had asked for changes in the way that his role was at work. Right around the time that we started working together, and a year later the changes finally came, and he had so much more ease at work, and you know, an ease in his life, and it was so funny because like I interpreted him as having a lot of compassion and empathy, but a year into working together, he suddenly realized for himself that what compassion looks like and feels like to him is different than like how I interpret it and what I would describe it as. And so, you know, it can take a year of 90-minute sessions, you know, to actually get to those places.
Right.
So yeah, it's foundational work for everybody. As you said, it really is, and it affects every aspect of your life.
Yeah. The thing that's coming to me is, I'm sure there's a lot of women watching this that are thinking, oh my God, I'm in so much pain in my relationship and I want more intimacy and we're fighting so much and it's just too stressful, or, you know, whatever you might be thinking. And I know a lot of things that I've heard before from the woman especially, and it doesn't have to be a woman, you know, whatever relationship you're in, but one partner who is feeling like, oh my gosh, we need to change this, and they're kind of like the one that wants to be the change maker. How do they get their other partner on board to do this type of work?
I think that's a really good question, and I was just thinking about this today because I would rather work with one than none.
Yeah.
So if your partner isn't ready, come see me, just yourself, and there will be changes in your relationship, and at some point your partner might say, wow, what you're doing is really working, and maybe I do want to join in, and maybe I do want to see what this is all about. And sometimes that might actually not happen, but at least one of you is coming and one of you is doing the work. I worked with a woman for a year whose partner was out of the country. They weren't able to see each other. They could only talk on the phone. He wasn't going to come see me, and we couldn't sync up our schedules, and he wasn't interested in coming to couples work. But she came, and it completely saved the relationship. So there is an aspect where I'd rather see one of you than none.
Yeah.
And if you are really sure that it needs to be the both of you, you know, show them this video. Talk to other people who have done work where one of them was just getting the coaching or the therapy, and where they both decided to go, and ask them what the differences were, and just do some research. And the other thing I would say is that because I'm really committed to your inner wisdom and what intuition that you have, I would ask that you just tune into yourself and you know, feel your feet on the ground, nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And if you are really getting very clearly, like 100%, that it needs to be the both of you, you know, it doesn't hurt to just pick up the phone and have a complimentary consultation and just see if that person is willing to do that. And I think too, like if you are powerfully in 100% yes and in alignment with something, that's what you can do, is just share that with your partner and say, like, I'm 100% in alignment with this. And, you know, I know that this is for us. And just really allow yourself to be vulnerable and powerful in that truth for yourself. And when you come from that place, the other person has to understand and hear that. Maybe it won't happen right away, but when you come from that place, like, that's palpable to your partner. And it might just convince them that it's worth it, you know, and that following your lead could actually be the thing that saves, you know, resolves the issues and saves with, you know, the pain, and wherever you're at in a relationship, it can fix all of that. So I kind of covered a bunch of different stuff. I hope that that's clear.
Yeah, I think that's good. The one thing that I would add to that, and I love what you said, just the last thing you said about like just feeling like into your yes and coming powerfully into the conversation with your partner around that, because more often than not, you know, if somebody's married and they want to work with me and they're having a conversation with their husband around the work because there's a financial investment, that's always my advice to them is like, if you are uncertain, they're going to feel that.
Yes.
And so you need to decide what you want to do first and feel so good and empowered in that you can bring that clearly instead of, can I do this?
Right.
It's like being an adult, which is hard to digest sometimes because we're all little girls, you know, and boys, which, you know, because we got issues, we do.
Yeah.
But bringing that adult self, your own adult self, and saying like, I want this. This is beneficial for both of us, and here's what I'm going to speak my truth. Another thing that the thing that I wanted to add is I was just having a conversation with my mom the other night. And she's trying to make like a decision, like a tough decision. And it was really sweet. She asked my opinion and she's like, what would you think? And then we went through this whole like kind of like background. I just asking her questions. And then in the end I said, well, Mom, the thing that I always ask myself if I'm really trying to make a tough decision and it feels tender is, what would love do? You know,
that's really sweet.
So you could ask yourself that, what would love say, you know, to your partner if you really want this to happen. So
that's really sweet. That's really so sweet and beautiful.
Yeah. I don't remember where I heard that. It was, I don't know, a cajillion, you know, self-development like books and courses. Who knows where I learned it? But yeah, that question is one of my favorite. And then my other favorite question when I know somebody's going through like a tough time is, how's your heart? I had a previous partner that used to ask me that, and it just stuck with me, and it just always felt so good. You know, even if our relationship didn't work out, and whenever he would say, how's your heart? I would just be like,
that's so sweet.
It's really sweet. Yeah.
It's really sweet.
It's like a good connection. Right, for couples.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Take the tool that I shared about getting grounded and breathing and tapping into your intuition and share that with your partner.
Good.
So that they can come from a place of, instead of fear, like really sensing into their intuition.
Yeah.
And helping. And that's actually the first step. I mean, that's what I would share on a call with you or in the first session is like how to do that. So even before going to see anybody, like start with that one tool just so you can both kind of sense into like, how does it feel to tap into our intuition a little more and get into an alignment and, you know, so yeah, you could share that with your partner so that they could try that technique out themselves and see what happens. Yeah. And have a conversation after that.
Beautiful. I love that. That's good. I get nervous thinking of like what people are maybe thinking like on the other side of like, oh God, how do I like breathe with my partner? And like, I'm just like sensing that, but it's so powerful, you guys. Just like grab their hands and say, okay, we're just going to take 3 deep breaths together and then like sit in silence for a minute, or I don't know. Yeah. What would you tell them to do?
Feeling the feet on the ground is really important. You need to ground yourself energetically, and just it helps you get into your body.
Okay.
And then I would say 3 to 4 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. It doesn't have to be in tandem. Like you don't have to do it like at the same time. Yeah, but you can if you want to. And then I would say as the entry point, probably focusing on your heart space. Intuition and wisdom comes from other parts of the body, but I think a good entry point is the heart space. So I would have each of you just ground out, do the breath, and then focus on your heart space, and then just ask the question, you know, like, is this the right step for us? Yeah, just gently, and see what the answer is. And
it's so good. Is there anything else you'd love to share that you feel like you're just like, oh, I really want to say that or share with everyone?
Yeah. Having committed sacred relationships, I truly know for a fact that it's healing, not only for you and your own stuff, not only for your relationship together, but for like literally the world. You know, when you can access just deep truth and inner wisdom in yourself, and when you can share vulnerably with your partner and have amazing intimacy and connection and sweetness and just expansion upward, like this upward spiral of growth and love and awesomeness, like it's so powerful, and everybody deserves to feel that way. So for me, it's like, I want the whole world, I want every couple to feel that this is possible for them, no matter where you're at in your relationship, even if it's fantastic. Like, I want you to keep going and to keep growing your intimacy and your inner wisdom and your love and your commitment, and see where it takes you and how it affects your life and other people that surround you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for chatting with me and for sharing with everyone.
Yay!
That was really beautiful. I hope you guys really took away a lot of, I'm wanting to cough again. Excuse me.
It might be the tea. It's really strong.
Maybe. I'm drinking a strong, like, spicy thing. Yeah, I hope you guys really took away just a lot of great tools. And I think what I'm taking away is just this, how much more we can have.
Yeah.
Like, there's more.
Yes.
There's more, you guys. And how really being on this expansive path and getting support in our relationships as business owners is just so vital to the impact we want to make in the world, and also the level of intimacy and pleasure that we really deserve to have, and peace with our partners. And that it doesn't have to be hard. You know, it might not be easy, but it doesn't have to be hard. It can be gentle. And so, the end. Sometimes I don't know how to like end really powerful phrases. I'm like, I don't know, if I just say the end, then it'll be fine.
That's perfect.
It's like, you know, the like fairy tales. It's like, and then this amazing thing happens. The end.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. So, last but not least, we'll put all the links in the show notes over at jessicatomlinson.com/show-10. This is episode 10.
I like that.
Yes. But do you want to share the number one place that you would like people to find you at?
Oh, yeah. Go to my website. It's just ChaniJacobson.com. CHAN as in Nancy, JACOBSON.com.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys in the next episode.